Three. Hello, welcome everyone to the Author Spotlight. The Author Spotlight is where we bring in change agents, thought leaders, those who are planet shakers, those who are making a difference in the community and the world. They're not only authors, but they're philanthropists, business owners, those who are fathers, husbands, women who love and who are wise. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're someone who's a teenager or somebody who's coming up with the next Harry Potter series. This is where we go behind the scenes with a casual, just like we're at a Starbucks having a latte. We're able to be here when we're able to expose and extract secrets from these change agents and thought leaders. So I'm excited to be here today with the one and only Jerome D. Love. Mr. Love is doing a lot of wonderful things. I'm just going to share a little bit about Mr. Love, and then we'll move forward and let him share in detail about himself. He's from a small Louisiana farm town named by CNN as America's poorest city, to founder of one of America's largest business expos. Jerome D. Love was voted multi-million-dollar top producer for Prudential Texas Realty, Entrepreneur of the Year, National Black MBA Association Houston chapter, and Pinnacle Award finalist for the Houston Citizens Chamber of Commerce, and is a favorite keynote speaker amongst both corporate and collegiate audiences. I just want to share a little bit more about him. Throughout his 16-year career as an entrepreneur and professional speaker, Jerome has been consistently recognized as a well-respected and highly sought-after expert in peak performance, sales, and leadership. The author of several books, his writings have been published nationally or are frequently quoted by industry experts. Jerome's keynote has been featured on major platforms such as the Los Angeles Mayor's Economic Development Summit, New Mexico State Leadership Conference, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, National Conference and the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organizations National Conference for 6 straight years. And he has shared the stage speaking at conferences with such global icons as Jeff Hoffman, founder of Priceline.com, Irvin Magic Johnson, NBA Hall of Famer, and Dr. Gene Landrum, founder of Chuck E. Cheese, just to name a few. Hey, I don't want to, if I left any gaps, anything out of, I didn't even go through everything on here, Mr. Love. But could you share and fill in the gaps where I may have left anything out that you want to share with our audience?
Well, I think you pretty much covered it. You know, I've had a expansive history. I know nothing but business. I started my first business when I was 19 years old. So not only do I run successful businesses, now I do training and consulting. I speak at a lot of conferences. But I think you hit it all.
Oh, okay. And I just want to go with you, go in detail with the book process. What made you want to even do a book? Like, what caused you, with all the things that you had, the many hats that you wear, why did you see it as important to even do it? Because a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes think to themselves, well, I don't have time to do a book, or I got other things that I'm doing. So you created, I believe, the different editions of Get Up, Get Out, and Get Motivated. And you have different series from students editions to the entrepreneurs edition to leaders edition. Could you share why did you go that route?
Well, I'm going to say something. Well, I'll tell you why I did it, and then I'll give you my advice on writing books.
Okay.
The reason I did it really wasn't for economic reasons. It was kind of per chance, if you will.
Okay.
I went to a workshop, and the speaker was talking about how you can make money as a speaker. And he was saying that everybody can be a speaker, even if you're a carpenter or lay floors. Somebody wants to know how to lay floors or, lay sheetrock. So you do your workshop seminars, and now you have a platform, and then you write your book, and now you can sell your product, and then you become an expert within your industry and all that type of stuff. So I went to him and I said, hey, man, I want to become a speaker. So my goal was always to become a speaker. But the guy who actually was consulting me, he said, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to write out, think about all the lessons you want to teach people, then think about the stories in which you learn those lessons and write them out. So I began to write those out, and I went back to him a week later, and he said, man, you have a book. So that was how I wrote my first book. So I really wasn't trying to write a book. And then once I got in it, everybody said, oh, man, this book is great. This could be a bestseller. Man, you really got to develop this and da-da-da-da. And then, so then I revised it. Originally, the book was called Contrapreneurship. So I came up with a concept called entrepreneurship, going contrary to the status quo, going against the grain to build successful businesses. Because many times we want to do everything like everyone else, but you got to build your value through your uniqueness. Then I went to a friend of mine. Her name is Rashonda Tate Billingsley, best-selling author. I mean, she's written probably over 30 books now. She has a couple movie series that's playing on BET, doing some really big things. She's produced by Queen Latifah, all kinds of stuff. And she read it and she said, Jerome, I don't even read nonfiction books, but I read yours. This is great. Then she kind of gave me some advice on making it a little bit more marketable. So then I changed the title from Contrapreneurship to Get Up, Get Out, and Get Something. How Contrapreneurship can help you build a booming business. Because my first business was a clothing line called Goo Gogs, which stands for Get Up, Get Out, and Get Something. So I revised the book, and I had it that way for about 4 or 5 years. It was doing okay. But then when I say, okay, I really want to take it to the next level, trying to do a lot more corporate speaking engagements, things of that nature, I went to another consultant who was primarily a speaker. And he said, if you're trying to get into corporations, speakers don't want to book something. This is generic. It doesn't tell them what they're going to get. He said, change it to motivation. Everybody books motivation. Get up, get out, and get motivated and do the various editions of it. Now, at that point, I had already written my leadership book and my student success book. So I just kind of rebranded them and put them all under the same packaging, Get Up, Get Out, and Get Motivated. Now I have the Leaders Edition, the Entrepreneurs Edition, the Student Success Edition, and I'm working on the Real Estate Investors Edition right now. So that's how I got to where I am. But like I say, the one thing I will say, going back, and what I would advise people, sometimes I think people write books like they get degrees. And what do I mean by that? Do I think college is important? Do I think getting a degree is important? But you got to understand what that is for. It's to build your economics. You're going to trade 4 years of your life and $50,000 to $100,000 in order to be able to generate revenue. It has to be able to generate that ROI. So before you write a book, don't write it just for your ego. That's what a lot of people do. Oh, I always wanted to write a book. If you write a book, write it for, I'm assuming everybody listening to this podcast is trying to make money. I'm assuming everybody listening to this podcast is trying to build a strong business. Don't write a book just like you don't get a degree just to boost your own self-esteem. Well, I always told my mom I was going to write a book, or I always wanted to get my degree. That's all well and good, but if it ain't going to put no money in your pocket, why are you doing it? So at the end of the day, I kind of learned that the hard way. I wrote the book and didn't really have a plan with it. Once again, I wanted to do speaking. I didn't even realize how writing the book would lead me to more speaking engagement. But once I wrote the book, then I started getting more speaking engagements, getting higher speaking engagements, and actually getting more money as a result of the speaking engagements. So that's the only advice that I would have. So make sure you have a plan with it. Understand how you're going to market it and how you're going to make money with it. So if you are a real estate agent, write you a book on how to list real estate and how to sell real estate. That's going to make you an expert. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to become a best-selling author. What it's going to do is going to get you more listings in your core business, which is real estate. But that's my 2 cents on writing a book.
Awesome. I just want the audience to make sure that you're paying attention what Mr. Love is sharing. He is dropping value bombs here. He's dropping gems on you, and make sure that you take heed to what he's sharing. Don't miss the opportunity. Don't let your ego get in the way. You got to give up to go up. Let go of the ego. Let go of the pride so you can walk around and act like you're doing something and faking the funk, so to speak. Excuse my southern vernacular, but I want you to understand the importance of being an expert. I mean, no one goes to MD Anderson and says, do you have a discount? No, you go to the best because you know that you want your health to be at a certain level. It's a life and death situation. And nobody comes to an expert and asks for the expert to drop their prices or don't see the value in when you're dealing with an expert. That's what Mr. Love is sharing. And the key to it is I had an actual client myself, and I know this is so true. And I had to jump in on that point that you brought up. I got an individual that I worked with, matter of fact, several in the real estate industry, and they created books soon as they came out with the books, they got one guy I know for sure. He got 4 new listings on his board as soon as he dropped the book. It didn't have out of nowhere. 4 new listings came just because people seen that he had pre-orders available and he had a book out, and it's continued to progress and move forward and forward. So make sure you take heed to what he's sharing. And I just want to go into this, Mr. Love. Could you share some hacks? Because we know you have a lot going on. So it's one thing to just so happen run into it and you start writing and find out you got materials to do a book, but you continue to move on and do more editions. So with that being said, with the busy schedule that you have, what are you doing? Is it getting up early in the morning, or are you taking time in the evening, or are you just putting it on your planner? Could you share with us some hacks that allow for you to be productive in writing your books?
Well, the book process really for me hasn't been that cumbersome. And there are a lot of ways to approach writing the book. So for instance, when you're a big time celebrity, very few of them actually probably write their books. They don't sit there and write the book. They may be responsible for the content. They may have people that interview them and then they write the book. Or you may have some that will sketch it out and outline it. So for me, I've done it a couple different ways. The first book, I pretty much wrote, I would say about 85, 90% of it actually myself, but I'm not an editor. I'm not I guess I'm not a professional from the perspective of I don't know how to explain it, but let's just say I found a editor who went through and said, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't be here. You need to change this. So they kind of took what I had, reorganized it, cut some of it, and then we went back and forth, and then we had the final product. My second book was more research based. So it was about leadership and the brain and triggers on building relationships and things of that nature. So I did a lot of the homework, a lot of the research. I sketched everything out. Okay, I want to talk about the brain here. I want to talk about the personality temperaments here, how they relate. Then I had some original content that I come up with. So I talked about what I call my stop analysis. That's if you're going to address an employee or someone who's done something wrong, before you do it, don't always just do it because you can or just because you're right. Go through your stop analysis. Is it, number one, significant? T, is the timing right? O, is the outcome something that's going to really affect you? And then P is, I forgot my P, right? Is it a pattern? Is it something that happens over time? So I had a lot of original content ideas. So I kind of mapped all of that out, did some of my research, and then I came up with a concept that I call love them and lead them, because people won't follow you if you don't have a relationship with them. So if you're going to be an effective leader, you got to be able to love them. It's kind of like Simon Sinek in his book, Start With Why. He talks about understanding why people do what they do. It's the same concept. The loving them is about understanding them, and then they want to follow you. So what's my point? So I sketched all that out, and then I just sent it to my editor, because I'll be honest with you, the first time I was a little disappointed. She cut a lot of the stuff I wrote, this, that, and she told me, she said, a lot of times it's easier for you to sketch it out and then me fill in the blanks than for you to write it all out and then me have to rewrite and make what you wrote more workable.
That's it.
Now, my third book, I pretty much wrote everything myself and just had someone edit it for the content, periods, all that type of stuff. And that one's that's my student success book. My real estate investors edition, I haven't completed as of yet. I've got it sketched out. I've actually been working on this one for about 2.5 years, but I kind of realized what I shared earlier, and that's why I put the brakes on that. There was an article I wrote, my first article for Black Enterprise. It was called Image or Economics. And I talked about how most of us will say we want economics, we're trying to make money, but we're settling for the image of economics. We have our Facebook, Instagram. We can post pictures on the beach, and we can get a section at a club and say popping bottles, and everybody like, oh man, you big timing. But the reality, you broke. It don't cost a whole bunch to get a section at a club in Vegas. It only costs you a couple $1,000s to get a trip to Cozumel or whatever. But it makes us feel like we're somewhere where we're not. So with that said, I felt like I was doing many of the same things with my book. I wrote one book and everybody's, when's the next one? So I feel like I got to write it. And everybody, oh man, you're doing it big. And that was stroking my ego, but it wasn't making me any money. So when I started the real estate book, it was kind of almost like I wrote a book the last 3 years. I got to write another book. So I started on it. And one of the things, now here's the economic part of it. One of the things that my mentor told me, he said, don't just go write what you want to write what the audience is asking you for.
Ooh.
So I do a lot of real estate development. So if you look at my Facebook, Instagram, you'll see pictures of me buying houses, rehabbing them, all that type of stuff. And people started asking me, well, how do you do this? Well, can you help me? And people started coming to my office, and I'm sitting down and consulting with them. And then I say, okay, let me follow what my mentor said and let me write a book about it. But when I got in the process, I got caught up doing Black Expo. I got caught up speaking. I got caught up doing some other stuff. And then I just had to say, okay, this, let me back up real quick. Let me figure out how this is going to work into my overall strategy. And let me make sure this is going to make me some money before, because it's a big investment to write your books. And there are a lot of different ways to write the book, but let me just say the way that I did it, I always do it right. I don't like those, I'm going to just say, I'm not going to name any names, but some of these low budget publishers that allow you to get 1 and 2 books at a time, the quality is completely different.
That's it.
Pictures don't look as good. It's just the quality is different. So I would go with your big time publishers, so I would get 4,000 and 5,000 books at a time. So, when I write a book, it's a minimum of about a $5,000 to $8,000 investment. And I was kind of like, if I don't have a path of making that money back immediately, then let me chill out for a minute and figure out how I'm going to make money before I really go all in. So I know I said a lot of different things. I don't even remember the original question, so please forgive me.
No. I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I just want those who are listening to pay attention. Ego, and I share this with a lot of clients all the time. Don't let the ego get in the way. Now, Mr. Love shared. He was transparent. It got in the way with him. He's just doing it because people thinking he's big time. And well, I got to come out with another one, man. I'm doing it this way. He's popping his collar. He's doing his thing, so to speak. But he had to think about what he was doing. And I want to make sure that I pull out of that the other important thing. Make sure that you're getting the right type of help. Don't lowball yourself every time if you want some of quality. Sometimes you're just going to have to pay the cost. Is that right, Mr. Love? You're going to have to pay the cost.
I certainly agree with that. I will tell you this, the most profitable areas in my life is a direct result of having people in my life, consultants, paid consultants. Some are just kind of mentors that just kind of advise me that say, do this, don't do that. And that has yielded the highest results in my life. And when you try to do stuff on your own, one of the things I talk about in my book is the value of having mentors. I talk about mentors versus tormentors. Mentors are people that give you good advice and can help you along your path. Tormentors are people that will derail you. They give you bad advice, provide a bad example. But I can tell you, I mean, I'm talking, it's been like direct. They simply say, do this, and I make $50,000. Now, I may have paid them $1,500 for about 4 or 5 hours of consulting, but I made $30,000, and it's so frustrating. For instance, with the real estate, I have people hit me all the time. Hey man, I want to talk to you about the real estate. And I believe that real estate and business development is the key to building wealth, specifically as African Americans. We don't own anything, and we need to start building and developing our own community. So I'm very passionate about it. And I would just have these people in my office. I would sit down and I would talk to them and I would spend all my time, and then they would go back and they wouldn't do anything. Or when I would talk to them, they would say, well, you know, my cousin told me. And I'm kind of like, well, you didn't come to your cousin. You came to me and I told you exactly what to do, and you're doing something opposite. Most of those people don't own no real estate. They're not doing any of the things that I told them to do. So I kind of got a little frustrated. And I was kind of like, okay, I don't want to be wasting my time. And I think people value what you give them a little bit more if they pay for it. So I started, my favorite question when people started asking me, hey, I want to sit down and talk. The favorite question, I want to pick your brain. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, man, sounds like a great idea. What's your budget? And then they normally either don't call me back or, oh, well, you charge? You know, that type of stuff. And for me, it's an easy way of it's not even about the money. Don't get me wrong. I need money just like everyone else. And I want money like everyone else. But it's not about the money. It's about valuing and respecting my time. So when I ask that question, what's your budget? And you act like, obviously you don't value what it is that I am going to share with you, and or you don't understand what I'm bringing to you. So it's probably not going to be a good fit, you know. So, but that's kind of the way I typically operated. And that's why I wrote the book too. I had someone come to me. It was so funny. Man, I want to meet with you. Can I sit down with you for an hour so you can help me map out my real estate development plan? And you know what I said? You know, I'm doing pre-orders for my real estate book. Here's a link. It's $34. Go ahead and get the book. Then once you review it, then let's come back and talk. Didn't even want to spend $34 to get the book, but want me to sit down for an hour and talk to them, you know? So you just gotta understand the game. And I don't knock them, because at one point I was like that. And while I'm still conservative in terms of my spending, I recognize it. When I call my attorney, sometimes I'm gonna talk to him and I'm gonna ask him a whole bunch of questions. But I understand this time. And when you say, hey, man, you know my fee. Okay, all right. How much it gonna cost? You know, then I'm gonna go ahead and pay him. But so that you gotta value yourself. You gotta value your time. So.
Awesome. And lastly, I want to ask you this: how has writing the book, you know, changed your life personally? Whether it be how your family look at you, for as the legacy piece, for as business, could you just show us the different ways of? And you know this better than anybody, and you shared a little bit about this. Also, the understanding of not just with your feet in the sand in Cabo and drinking the Corona, waiting on a royalty check. I want you to speak to the audience too about the importance of leveraging the book, which you did. Just kind of share how your creating and writing books has changed your life or changed others around your life by them viewing you as an author and seeing you as an author, somebody they can feel or touch or speak to.
Well, for me, I met with a guy last week, Rashawn McDonald. He's an Emmy Award-winning producer. He produced the Steve Harvey Show in Steve's first 2 or 3 books. And we were speaking about this on last week because, once again, when I initially wrote the book, I was trying to be a speaker, but then I got into the book thing, and then I was trying to look for a publisher, you know. So I'm trying to do query letters and this, that, and the other, and talking to publishers, and it just didn't work. And what someone explained to me, and I think it's pretty much true, he said, getting a publisher is kind of like getting a loan. When you need a loan, no one's going to give you one. You know, the reality is because you need money. Your credit check, you don't have no collateral. You need money, so I'm not going to give you money because you need it. But if you have a bunch of real estate, your house is paid off, your car is paid off. You know, I get letters in the mail all the time. Hey, you can get $5,000. Sign this paperwork and you'll get $10,000. But I don't really need a loan, so now everybody wants to give me a loan. The publishing and book business is kind of the same. When you need a publisher, no one's gonna, you know, when you're trying to get your name out, you're trying to get your book, so no one's gonna work with you because you need it. You don't have a following. But when you build your own following and you really don't need a publisher because you can put a book out and you're selling, maybe it's 5,000-10,000 books a year, they can take you from 5 to 10,000 to 500,000 to 1 million. You understand what I'm saying? So you already have a following. There's a guy I know, his name is Richard John T. Self-published, does very well. And we were talking one time, he was like, man, I can put a book out. And I forgot his numbers, and I wouldn't want to share it anyway. But let's just say anytime he put a book out, he know he got a couple $100,000 probably coming in, because he has a fan base of 50 to 100,000 people that when a Richard John T book comes out, they gonna buy it. So now if he wants to get a publisher, he can. So once again, I'm talking and I got sidetracked. So you were asking me, the question was, how is it enhanced and built my life? So so that was kind of the reason I was telling you how I went to the evolution of the book. So that was why I initially wrote the book, and my goal was to get a publisher. Then for me, I realized that the book for me is really a high price business card. And it started opening up doors for speaking engagements. So I started making more of my money through speaking. And then when I go to the speaking engagements, I'll make an extra $700, $800, maybe $1,500 in terms of selling my book. So for me, that was the advantage of writing my book. Now I'm getting back to the point in my life where, and that's what I was talking to Rashawn last week about, is I'm trying to get those royalty checks that you mentioned and get a publisher. And I built somewhat of a following. So I was chatting with him about, okay, now what's the step to get this thing out in the public? And one of the things he told me, he kind of went back to what we were originally saying. When I wrote my book, social media really wasn't out there. I had a MySpace when I first wrote my book. So now you have the tool and the platform to build your own following where you don't need a publisher. I heard Kevin Hart say it one time. He said, if you want to be a success, there's no reason you can't be a success. You have a free way of getting your name out there. And he was talking about a lot of these social media superstars, the cell phone, they laugh. Now they have things of followers and endorsement deals from all those folks. And the young lady name is, I think her name is Jasmine Brown. Her site is Jazzy or something, I don't know, like that. But she's now on BET. She sends 50 Central. But she started with social media. Keyron Turner, Simone Shepherd, these folks television shows. They didn't have a lot of built their following through social media. So that was one of the things he was telling me. Is he said, Jerome, you have a brand. You have Black Expos, you have books, speaking, you have real estate development. Following, and you don't really need a publisher, but once you build your following, they're gonna come be mutually beneficial. So
wow. Well, I just want to tell you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Love, for your time. I know you got things to do this morning, but I really appreciate you pouring into our audience today, because I don't know about everybody else, but I had my notepad ready. I got my stuff. I got all my stuff on the back end over here. I got my stuff written down. I really appreciate you taking time, because I want our audience, just as we get ready to close this out, is just to make sure that you pay attention to this. Look back over this episode. He dropped so much value on us today. And don't be like those who missed the opportunity, who didn't even want to buy the book that he gave to you. This was worth over 10 grand, just the interview we just did right here, right now. If you pay attention to what he's telling you, just the do's and the don'ts, seeking wise counsel, not being afraid. You have not because you ask not, and all you're getting, get an understanding. That's what you need to make a move. You might spend $1,500 or $5,000 to make $50,000. I think that's a great ROI. But if you get caught with your hand closed the whole time, if you don't want to add value to somebody or uplift someone, then you're missing out. You're missing the real key to it. You must see if you can add value to someone first and uplift them. And I want you to go to his website. Make sure you go to it and get all his books, all his information. And before we leave, could you share, for those who are saying, you know what, I need that consultant. You know what, I need that book. You know what is the Texas Black Expo? Could you share a little bit about your different businesses as far as links or websites where the audience can go? And I will make sure we put them in the show notes as well when this airs.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say one other thing just to before I do that, if it's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Just to kind of share the audience, the most important. I'm gonna give you two scenarios of how important it is to have consultants and other people. I used to still do my speaking. I would mail out to a database, let's say 3,000 people. Every time I would mail out to 2,000 to 3,000 people, I would get about 10 calls. Of those 10 calls, engagements about 3,500 apiece, make about $6,000. I read one book by an author that I heard from at a seminar, got a new marketing strategy, mapped it out exactly, and I went about 10 calls to getting 40 to 50 calls. Plus, instead of getting 2 speaking engagements, getting 10 to 12 speaking engagements. So I went from getting $7,000 to $30,000 to $40,000 from one $30 purchase. You know, so
Wow.
it's very invaluable. But don't be shortchanged. You know, someone should buy a book. Now, in terms of getting more information, you can find me on social. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook at Jerome D Love, Jeromed, D as in David, Love. The Texas Black Expo is a great platform. It's the largest American investment in the state of Texas. Go to texasblackexpo.com. If you want to become a vendor, get your booth. It's an opportunity to market and promote your business to thousands and thousands from across the country. One place, one weekend. We do it once a year. Next year is going to be June 7th through the 10th at the Georgia Brown Convention in Houston, Texas. Love to have you out. And we appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I appreciate everything you're doing. I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope we to bless someone's life on today. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me. JeromeLove.com is my personal website to get any of my books. If you're looking to book a speaker, JeromeLove.com. If you want a booth or any of the business development stuff, if you're in the Houston or Texas area, to learn more about our programming, we have our CEO roundtable. We typically do elevator pitch competition, the Expos in June. Right now, I'm glad, with Hurricane Harvey Small Business Relief Fund to help businesses affected by Hurricane Harvey. Currently, we raised over $32,000 and we have distributed $27,000.
Wow.
So we do a lot of different things, but it all revolves around supporting and helping small businesses to survive. So, but thank you so much, Darren.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Love. I really appreciate it. And I'm going online right now to get my books. So I'm going online right now to purchase mine. I'm not playing no game. What the information I heard, I'm buying mine. And I will be contacting you here shortly, too, on some consulting on some other things as well. So I really appreciate your time. And for those out there who playing, I will be online showing the books when they come in, when they get mailed to me, that I'm not playing any games. So y'all can miss out on your blessing if you want to, but I'm going to get mine because Mr. Love has truly blessed me today. And I thank you. But remember, this airs every Sunday, the Author Spotlight at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on DMP Enterprises. If you need help, if you need assistance, if you're trying to share your story with the world like Mr. Love and you want a talented team around you, we would love to help you at self-published, the letter N, 30days.com. Thank you again for coming out. Remember, we want you where Mr. Love is. We want you to be that change agent, that planet shaker, that thought leader who's making a difference in your community, in the world. Thank you so much, Mr. Love, and have a wonderful day, sir.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right. Have a good one.